You're listening to Simple Roots Radio, episode number 110, and today is all about the difference between men and women's hormones and everything you need to know, like birth control and menopause and men's testosterone levels and so much more.
Welcome to Simple Roots Radio with Alexa Shern. Alexa believes that simplicity in life is the key to achieving true and lasting health. And now your host, Alexa Shern.
Welcome back to this podcast. I'm your host, Alexa. This is a place to get healthy, live happy, and find more joy. Today, I'm so excited to have on a guest, Dr. Patrick Flynn, who is a hormone expert. In fact, he's gained the name the Hormone Whisperer because he's helped so many men and women regain their lives by helping them fix their hormones, which he believes is the foundation of life. And I'm not going to argue that. So today we're going to talk about both men and women's hormones. We're going to dive into how we're different, and as he quotes, to understand men and women, you have to understand their hormones. Dr. Patrick Flynn is the founder of The Wellness Way, as well as an international speaker and author. He recently wrote the book, The Hormone Connection, which is fantastic, and I have a few copies to give away. And he's had a lifelong desire to learn more about the human body and really just help provide relief for so many people. So I'm excited to have Dr. Patrick Flynn on. Now, I will tell you that this show was pre-recorded and we do touch on subjects that are a little bit deeper than most. So I'm going to warn you that if you have small ears around or near, you may want to just pop in some earbuds or not have this on in the car during the show. We get a little bit more involved into sex and ejaculations and other things, which I know sounds extreme for Simple Roots Radio, but hear me out. This is really, really valuable information when it comes to hormones and how to fix the hormones in men and in women. So we dive into all of that. But on top of that, we also talk about natural birth control solutions. We talk about menopause and how women shouldn't be struggling the way they are, and just hormonal flow in general. It is a really, really great podcast. So I hope I didn't scare you away. I just wanted to forewarn you that yes, the show goes a little bit deeper, that you can prepare yourself, and that you're not listening to this in the car. But I can assure you, this is a show that you're going to want to share with your friends and tell other people about. But before we get to the show, I do want to remind you that in just a few short weeks, we're going to be launching the Simple Cleanse. Yes, the Simple Cleanse is my 28-day detoxification program, which scares so many people. But really, what I believe about detoxification is your body already does a fantastic job of it. More than detoxing for your body or adding all these supplements and tinctures, it's just to help you create a lifestyle that allows your body to do the job that it was designed. So this 28-day program is going to help give you the freedom to rest and relax more, all the while eating more nutritious foods and really nourishing your body from the inside out. It is one of my favorite programs and creates the most change. In fact, I guarantee results will be seen. So if you want to check out more about the Simple Cleanse, again, you can do this any time of the year, but what's cool about the Simple Cleanse, or what's cool about our body, is that our body likes to detoxify with the seasons. So naturally, change is more likely to happen during the spring and fall months, which makes cleansing during the fall months ideal. So that's another reason I'm going through it starting October 1st, and I hope that you will join me. It is really an inexpensive investment for what you get for hormonal balance, more energy, weight loss, focus, concentration, and really just more joy. I really believe it will bring all of that to the table. 28 days, yes, it takes some discipline, but at the end of the day, I think you'll learn a lot of new habits and routines that will help you live a healthier life for months and months, if not years to come. So to learn more about the Simple Cleanse, head on over to simplerootswellness.com. Sign up. It's at the lowest price now. You can get all the bonuses. You really aren't going to want to miss out on this. Plus, if you already have purchased the Simple Cleanse, which you get for life, you too will be receiving all the bonuses that come along with it. So just check your inbox for more of that information to come. Again, that's starting in just a few short weeks, October 1st. So sign up now at simplerootswellness.com. Okay, now let's get right to the show. Welcome to the show, Dr. Patrick Flynn. I'm so excited to have you on and to talk about a subject that is actually one of my most requested topics, and that's hormones. So thanks for being here.
I appreciate being on the podcast today.
So today we're going to talk about hormones, and you have a book out that talks specifically about men's hormones and women's hormones, and really you're a big promoter of women understanding men and men understanding women. Where did this idea come from?
Well, actually, it started from just basic clinical practice. When I started practice almost 20 years ago, I started basically just helping women get their whole hormone system back to normal. And then obviously, women actually got great clinical results, but I realized that they didn't understand not only themselves as they were actually, as I was teaching them and actually getting them tested, doing things that way. But then I realized, for example, that they were clueless of how their own body worked. But then it was kind of interesting because then I started talking about, they bring in their husband because they had some health issues. And then I realized that not only the men didn't know how the hormones work, but then women actually didn't know how men's hormones worked, and women didn't know how women's hormones worked. And I started to go, listen, understand that these things affect us both physically, but also psychologically. So not understanding your own hormones, for example, like a woman's hormones, if they're cyclic, they change 4 times within a month. If a man doesn't understand that because his hormones don't change through the month, he doesn't realize that there's physical and emotional changes that his spouse, girlfriend, fiance, whatever goes through. And because he doesn't experience it, he doesn't understand these stresses and things that a woman affects her mentally. So they think there's something wrong. A lot of women don't even realize. I had women come in that were put on antidepressants because just their emotions were going up and down with their cycles. And they're like, Doc, something wrong with me. I'm like, no, that's called being a normal woman.
Right.
So I started to observe that they weren't teaching people right. And I started to speak up about it and be like, this is, and I started to listen, women have to know their body intensely because guys, we have it much simpler than women ever have it. So
right.
I thank God every day I'm not a woman. So it just started with just some clinical experience and recognizing that, yes, obviously I'm getting great clinical results and getting one woman's body back to normal, but the understanding of how it works is not taught. It's not even taught to doctors today because I teach them all over the world every single day.
Right. So let's start with men, start breaking this down a little bit because you said they are the simpler of the two. So we'll start with the most basic and men. So what is it about men and their hormonal cycle that makes them different from women?
Well, what we have is we have a little less complicated system. In general, men and women have the exact same hormones, okay? A young lady and a young boy, let's say they're both 8-year-olds, have very similar hormone dosages that way and stuff. They don't differ too much until they get to the puberty, until they get to puberty. And then all of a sudden, they start to now go in different directions, okay? Men's testosterone skyrockets and, is at least 20 times more than a woman's is. Women's estrogens all start to now have a pattern of changing through the month, aka their cycle. There's one similarity to both men and women's hormones is, for example, hormones actually are more elevated in the morning than they are at nighttime. So only a cycle, because yes, guys do cycle, their testosterone is a little bit higher in the morning than it is at nighttime, but really what happens is their hormones are pretty straight across from the time they have puberty till the time they die. It's one of the reasons why, for example, a 80-year-old man can still actually get if they had a wife that's 30 years old, could still get them pregnant because, once again, their testosterone levels are supposed to stay normal their whole life. This whole concept that testosterone drops down as they get older is false, and it's a deliberate lie. It's just that most medical practitioners know nothing to do but synthetic hormone replacement and have nothing to do to find out why testosterone has dropped. So what they do is they say testosterone drops as it gets older. Well, that's a false lie. That's not true. I can show you guys that are 80 years old that have testosterone levels of 800. Okay, so the big difference is men, for example, stay pretty stable. I say it's like the flat line if somebody dies in the heart monitor. It's just straight across. Okay, women, for example, their hormones significantly elevate during puberty, but now what they do is they have that cycle. They actually change 4 times within a month. So therefore, they actually have high levels of hormones. They just fluctuate. Now, once again, you guys dominate in estrogens, we dominate in testosterone, and that's the very big clinical significant, which really differentiates men and women. But that has a physical toll. We see that dramatically, but it also has a major psychological aspect that really differs men and women so significantly.
Right. I want to stay on the topic of testosterone for men because that is their primary hormone. So there's a big concern in the health community, I would say, and something that probably should get more light than it does. And that's the issue of men's testosterone is dropping rapidly and from very early ages. Why is this happening and how can a man fix this?
Well, there's a fallacy. Okay. Here's the fallacy. Men's testosterone levels are not dropping now let me follow me on this, because you just said, Doc, you said they're lower than ever in history and people replace them. No. Here's what happens. Unless a guy has a testicular problem, cancer, maybe a testicle removed for something bad, maybe bad trauma to his testicle, his testicles can produce a significant amount of hormone every day. They do. But here's the problem. Testosterone is not an end-stage hormone. Let me give you an example. Every hormone starts with cholesterol. That's why this whole fallacy that cholesterol is bad for us is ridiculous. It's killing men. It's one of the reasons why testosterone levels are extremely low today is because guys are taking statin drugs, lowering their cholesterol, and they don't have the building blocks. Okay?
Right.
So that's step number one. Step number two, testosterone converts down from cholesterol to DHEA to testosterone. But here's where the fallacy comes up. Testosterone also converts into estrogens. And the process that speeds that up is sugar. Sugar is what kills men mainly today. If they're not taking a statin drug, so really what happens is unless there's testicular damage or a statin drug, the number one reason why men have low testosterone today is their consumption in sugar, because it causes testosterone to aromatase into estrogens. It's why they gain weight. It's why they have man boobs. It's why they have menopause. It's why they have all these emotional problems that men didn't have a long time ago. So it's not that we have low testosterone problems. They're eating too much sugar and destroying their life that way. And that's the majority of men today. And so that's why when you say, listen, guys, you got to cut back on the sugar, they freak out. They'd rather take a synthetic testosterone supplement, or not supplement, synthetic testosterone hormone, which causes cancer.
Right. So basically it's just not the activation of testosterone into the active form, which men need to use. So what other things besides sugar are causing this? There's debates all over the place, like, EMFs and other things, but like, do you have a list of the top things that men are doing that are decreasing the activation process?
Well, a couple things. Okay. So number one, I always tell guys, make sure if you're on any statin drug, okay, that's the biggest thing. Don't take those, because there's no way. A guy will come in to me and say, Doc, can you only get my testosterone back to normal? And I'll look and I'll go, you take a statin drug. It's virtually impossible. It cannot happen. It cannot happen, okay? So therefore, because once again, you can't have the cholesterol constituents not there. Second of all, if they don't change their diet, do you see what I'm saying? Now, here's the difference. And this is why I will tell you, and you probably have heard me say this, this is why feminists don't like what I talk about. They say, Doc, we're talking about testosterone. No, let me go there. Women's bodies are much more sensitive to stress, EMF, and all the factors. Men's bodies can handle so much stuff as long as they don't eat sugar and statin drugs.
Why is that?
It's not a joke. So,
why?
Because once again, testosterone, here's what happens. When you look at how a woman's body's hormonally is set up, progesterone is a very important hormone for women. Very important hormone for women. And inflammation and mental stress actually drains progesterone. So any inflammatory process to a woman, for example, is much more detrimental than to a man, because cortisone is independently produced away from testosterone. So it doesn't drain their major hormone. So if we can keep testosterone levels good, that's why, for example, a guy can, stop drinking soda and lose 20 pounds, and a woman could stop drinking soda and don't make a dang bit of difference. You see, and so that's why I think I'm more sensitive to women's issues, because I understand how sensitive the woman's body is compared to a guy's is. So that's why when people say, Doc, all these are factors that really affect a guy, it's actually kind of not really even true, because their body can handle more stress. They can handle more inflammation. It's why they can handle working out, and women can't handle working out if it's not done right. That's why they can actually work out and gain weight. A guy's testosterone levels actually go up by mental stress. They go up by physical stress that way. So the way our body is meant, it's why a guy is meant to physically handle things more and stuff. So that's why when people look at other factors, I said, listen, you want to look at those factors, now focus towards women, because those are the things. Because you're going to find out, I can honestly tell you, and I've looked over 100,000 labs in my career, and as you guys probably can find out, we have offices and doctors all over the country, and I get to speak at massive conferences. Men's health is so simple to dictate that way. Now, Durham, I have a Q-Link on right now that actually blocks EMF. I actually have a grounding pad by my computer. I actually don't eat toxic things. I try to keep all the stressors away from everything from bad lighting, okay? In my offices, I don't have fluorescent bulbs. I have full spectrum bulbs.
Mm-hmm.
I have air purifiers. I have all those things because less burden to any body is better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that if a man's testosterone levels can stay relatively well, do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jerome, I do believe, for example, I've seen this happen. Don't put your cell phone in your pocket, guys.
Right.
EMF, once again, that can cause testicular damage. But there you're coming back to, unless something damages the testicles or actually converts the hormone down, a guy's testosterone levels will stay very, very complete.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, right. This is why men can lose weight so much quicker than women as well, just because their bodies are more apt to handle the change, really. Okay, so
100%,
yeah,
and that's why I said guys have it so easy.
Right. Okay. So basically, if you're saying for a man, if you're struggling with your testosterone levels, which can you just give the range on a lab, because testosterone is so easy to test, and do you really recommend that men get their hormones tested just like women would?
Yes.
What's the range that you like to see men at in their testosterone levels?
I want to see a guy above 500.
Okay.
Above 500.
And it doesn't matter the age?
Yep.
That's what you're saying?
Nope, doesn't matter age.
Okay.
Doesn't matter age. Now, once again, here's what I will tell you this. Like for example, and if you ever see my Facebook posts or my stuff that way, I make all my stuff public. I just redid my food test that way. Guess what happens? I have 6 allergies. I show publicly that way. My testosterone levels are at 845, and I just turned 44 years old.
Uh-huh.
You see them?
Uh-huh.
And people say, well, Doc, what do you take for your testosterone levels? Nothing.
Uh-huh. Right.
Nothing.
You're just...
what?
Yeah. You're just controlling it by diet and lifestyle.
Exactly. My lifestyle dictates it. Now people say, Doc, but there's some medicinal herbs and stuff that you like for lifestyle things. Sure. But I don't take anything directly, for example, to actually build it up when it's been lost, which can happen that way. But that's only a short-term validation, once again, unless you actually take care of lifestyle things that way.
Right, right. And I think that something that I kind of wanted to mention before we move on to women is that so many of our diseases that we see in men aren't just, quote unquote genetics, but they really do boil down to a hormonal thing, which, changes the epigenetics. But, just because you might have a genetic predisposition doesn't mean that you can't impact that via your hormones in a positive or negative way. So can you talk about how hormones aren't just sexual, but that they are an overall picture and scope of our health in general?
Well, if you look at it this way, hormones are called anabolic. They're growth. That's why, for example, I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. If the Green Bay Packers take synthetic hormones, they would lose their job because they would synthetically grow larger than they're supposed to be. So anabolic stands for growth and repair. Our body is either growing or dying. It never stays the same. The skin cells that you woke up with this morning, once again, are controlled hormonally. They will actually replicate, and within 17 hours, you'll have a new set of skin cells. You don't notice this replication, but those are controlled by myogenic hormones that way. So once again, hormones actually are about building and repair. So that's why when women or men become deficient on them, when their body is pushed into stress levels that way, how well they repair and adapt and actually grow new tissue is all based on that. That's why once again, I hate the term anti-aging because there's no such thing. I am older now than I was when we first started this podcast. But what people have to say is proper aging, healthy aging that way. Okay? So when actually people look so much older, that's why they'll come back and start doing hormonal therapy, and they'll actually start to look younger because their tissues will grow properly at a decent rate that way. So hormones are all anabolic, and that's obviously, once again, testosterone actually really affects our skeletal tissue a lot. That's why guys will, by nature, will always have more muscle tissue than women will, because women will never have the levels. Now, you can see women take synthetic testosterone, which does happen, and they start to look like a man. You said so. That's where the characteristics really come in: anabolic and growth, repair. So yes, sexual function is one of the first things that people know because there's a lot of emotions involved in sexual hormones that way. But really what happens is it's really more about growth and repair, because if they're low, you won't heal as properly as you're supposed to.
Right. Okay, that makes total sense. Okay, now let's move on to women. So explain women and why they're a little more complicated, because we get into more of the cyclical phases of a woman and everything else in between. And like you said, it's not once they hit puberty, it doesn't just mean that they stay up, right? There's multiple phases of a woman's life. So can you explain this? I know you could take probably over an hour to explain this, but yeah.
Well, to give a simplistic realm of this, now I'm going to start here. I don't believe women are that complicated if you just understand their cycle. Because once again, I have a beautiful wife and 4 daughters, okay? So if you think about like my joke, I always say, guys, when you marry a woman, you really marry 4 different women because their hormones change weekly. Therefore, they change physically and psychologically weekly, okay? So a guy's pretty much the same all the time. Now, when you look at this, when a woman does hit puberty, just understand the estrogens, because here's the biggest thing. Estrogens increase so dramatically, that's what gives women all their characteristics, both physically and psychologically. But most women don't even understand that estrogen as a term, it's not a hormone. That's why you always hear me say estrogens. You'll never hear me say estrogen. Estrogen is a general term for 10 estrogens. And most women are clueless on that. They're like, we have 10 estrogens? I'm like, yes. And if those go out of balance, you'll end up anything from cancer to osteoporosis to diabetes to everything that way. It controls a woman's life. Yet most women have never had those 10 ever measured in their life ever, which is kind of, I think, disgusting when you go to a doctor since you're a young lady. Okay? Now, once again, those things fluctuate through the month. Actually, they increase in the first 2 weeks of a woman's cycle, and then they decrease in the second part. Progesterone, once again, is very slow and low in the first part, starts to build up second week, peaks at the third, and drops down. So there's this consistent cycle of fluctuation because, once again, it's all based on everything from an egg being developed, actually for pregnancy, but also for breast and actually other tissues to change through the month. Like I always say, ladies, think about this. There's sometimes you get up in the morning, put on your bra, and it's full. And there's sometimes you get up a week later, and it's not full. Okay, what happened? Hormone levels change so dramatically, but the tissues respond based on that. You understand? But the part that I want women to understand is those hormones also have receptors on your brain. So women don't realize, people say women are emotional. Thank God they're. Women actually go up and down. Yes, thank God. But women today, once again, this is where I will criticize the feminist movement massively. They actually believe that women are supposed to be just as mentally strong as men and be able to handle the same, and they're putting massive pressure on them, stressing them out, and they're getting sick. And I'm sitting there going, don't do that. Ladies, you're allowed to have emotional times. You're allowed to cry. That's normal. There's nothing wrong with that and stuff. And it's always not strong women. God, if a woman has ever even had a baby, they're strong because a guy could never do it. There's the gifts that women have that guys can never have, and there's gifts that men have hormonally that women can never have. We're very different. Accept it, love it, and actually learn about them. And as I said, I massively appreciate the female body, what it goes through every single week. It's fascinating to me. I got so fascinated with it at a young age because I met my AKA girlfriend, AKA now my wife of 19 years, because she was told she could never have children. I'm like, that makes no sense. I said, that's not the way the body's genetically programmed. We're not genetically programmed for disease. We're genetically programmed for what? Normal physiology. Now you can actually trigger the genes. You can cause damage to them by your lifestyles, but we're genetically programmed for normal. So these things that a woman going through that cycle is a normal thing. A woman's having emotional things is normal things. But women actually think they're supposed to be so stable and straight across. I've actually had women, once again, like I said on the beginning of the show, actually be on antidepressants because they thought their emotions are supposed to be the same through the month. That's actually a lie. That's not true. And any doctor that would put on a person on an antidepressant because of that should be held liable. It's ridiculous. Now, people say, Doc, but you test women all the time and they have very low hormones and they're very depressed. I agree with that. But most doctors never test their hormones properly. I can tell you right now, in all my years of practice in all the clinics across the world, I've never seen a medical doctor, an OB, or any medical professional ever test a woman properly, nor do they even know how.
So what do you mean by that? Like, can you further explain what you should be testing?
Well, let me give you a simple thing. Okay. There's 10 estrogens. Okay. 10.
Right.
Have you had all 10 measured?
Never.
See, that's my point.
Right.
Now, I guarantee you've actually been to a doctor before you've been on this podcast.
Right.
Does it make sense?
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
So therefore, how can we even address a woman when we don't even properly test everything?
Because each estrogen is basically signaling for something different.
Dramatically different.
Right.
Exactly. So how can we give a mind or a chemically altering drug without having the proper assessment done on a woman? That's barbaric. It's wrong. They're making such clinical judgments on basically no knowledge whatsoever based on how a woman feels. But a woman's feelings are supposed to change weekly.
Right. Because that's part of our cycle.
That's part of a normal physiology.
So is it unrealistic for women to want to be more even? Or is there some line of, yes, we're always going to be more emotional, but we shouldn't be extremely emotional, you know? Or where do you find that balance? Like, where is healthy?
Well, it's kind of funny. The first part is this. The healthy is, yes, obviously, there's actually pretty big swings in women's hormones through the month. But obviously, depression's not one of them. Do you understand? Because now, during a little bit of fatigue when a woman first starts menstruating, a little bit of no ambition and stuff like that, when they start menstruating, is very common. Do you understand? But women are trying to run their kids in 3 sports and be the PTA president and all stuff like that, and they don't realize that they need to take it easy during that time. You understand? And of course, they push their body to drain their hormones. Now you can get into some problems, health problems that way. So they're wrong. Depression and major depression is not a normal thing. But I can always tell women, but until you can get your hormones measured to see where they're at, once again, you don't know what's normal for you. Because I've seen women basically actually at normal hormones during their menstruation time never want to move out of the house. And I look at them and say, it's okay. That's what your body needs to do for it to repair and produce that new uterine lining. And once they know, they're mentally great about it and they're not depressed. See, when women don't know, that's when they get worried and scared and they think there's something wrong with them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And sometimes there is. And sometimes there is. Sometimes they do need a little bit of clinical work to balance things out, and they see a change, a dramatic change that way. But some women, for example, once again, this is an opinion. I always tell you the difference between fact and opinion. Sometimes I see women put so much pressure on them. Some things are very normal, but what they believe they're supposed to be, and that's really what's causing them the problem.
Right. It's just really, again, the lack of being able to handle what we think we should be able to handle.
Right. Right, exactly.
Okay.
So it's like,
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
No, I just want to say, and that's a big part. So I see clinically sick women all across the world every single day. Okay, and so it doesn't downplay that women are at an all-time high for hormonal problems. Okay, but I really want women to understand that as long as they understand that, listen, that some fluctuation is normal, that's a start. Okay, then get your levels tested, and we can see how fluctuation is because I've seen women actually go from absolutely peaceful to mentally almost unstable, and obviously their hormones are really bad. Measure them, they're horribly off. That's not normal. Okay, and then that's, but once again, that's all testable and measurable.
Right. So you can see that. Okay, so in the book you talk about cycle syncing, and it's something that I'm a big proponent of, and I've talked a lot about here on the podcast. But when we talk about cycle syncing, is there times in a woman's cycle, which can you break down your idea of cycle syncing? I know you talked about it in exercise and other things, but when we can handle more stress than when we can't. Yeah,
you can always handle more stress in the week 2 and week 4 of your cycle. So let's just break it down a 28-day cycle. Week 1, your uterus is under a lot of changes. It's going to menstruate. You're going to lose stuff. You're going to lose blood. So actually, ferritin levels are going to drop. Energy levels are going to drop a little bit. But boy, when that menstruation stops, you really get an anabolic push, okay? And week 2, that's when women actually say, Doc, I feel like I take on the world. That's kind of true, okay? And then what happens is in week 3, hormones are at its peak, but that's where women have to be very careful because they have to peak up, and a lot is dependent on your adrenals. So I always call that the woman's zone because I want women to understand that definitely, do your thing, be active, do those things, but don't push it too hard because that's why I purposely make my wife and my first daughter, who's 15, who does have her cycle, say, listen, be active, do your things that way, but, keep the stress down because I don't want them to drop. Because once again, it'd be detrimental, and that's where I believe most women develop their illness. But in week 4, a woman, once again, they have a lot of strength. They can actually really push their body even physically. So I tell people, if you're going to do high intensity workouts, week 2 and week 4, actually stay active during 1 and 1 and 3 in the weeks that way. Do yoga, do different things that way, go for walks, stay active, don't stay sedentary ever. You say, but if you want to do some high intensity workout that way, but also that's where also you'll see women really mentally peak is in week 2 and 4 because their hormones, for example, are very stable and there's not a terribly lot of demand on them, so they can handle more. Okay, they can even handle. That's why women they jump on a scale and they seem to lose weight during that time, and they do in other ones and they hold a little weight. So it fluctuates very different between 1 and 3 and 2 and 4.
Okay, so if someone wants to start cycle syncing, and I think that this is I talk about it a lot, but I think it's still this overwhelm of some women don't even know when they're cycling, and I get a lot of questions. If someone's on birth control, does it even matter if you cycle sync?
No, actually,
this is a whole nother topic. Okay, let's back up and say
poisonous things you melt.
Right. Let's back up and start with a woman who's not on birth control and really wants to start cycle syncing. How and when do you get someone to start that? Like, is it on week 1, like as soon as they start menstruating, that's when you start cycle syncing? Or
yeah, always go from day 1 menstruation because you can always judge your timing after that. It's much easier to judge your timing. So day 1 menstruation, that's when you start it.
Okay, and then this is another question. Are women's, like in healthy hormonal woman, is their cycle supposed to be accurate on number of days, or can it fluctuate with health?
This whole fallacy that always has to be 28 or always has to be 29 or always has to be 30. I don't know any person that has the same month every month. Now, let me say this. What I mean by that is hormones, for example, fluctuate in the last 2 weeks. And if you run out just a little bit, not deplete, run out a little bit, you'll start a little bit earlier. If you stay stable, you might go a little longer that way. I would say between 26 and 32. You can have a 27-day cycle 1 month, 30-day the next one, 28-day the next one, 31 the next one, you're fine.
Okay. I have found personally, and I have no research to back this up, but for myself, my cycle varies on the season.
Absolutely does.
Yeah.
Actually, by nature, especially living in the Midwest, in the winter, your thyroid numbers will go a little higher. You need a little bit more hormones during the winter, obviously, because of the cold. So yes, that does happen.
Yep. Okay. And which, again, I think cycle syncing should be should be done every month, but I also am a huge believer in seasonalities of foods and activities and lifestyles, rather than the rigidity of what we're doing, because I don't think that's how our bodies work. And I mean, just that statement alone proves that yes, your hormones are going to change via temperature.
Well, and think of it this way. Here's what I always think of this way, and this is the big thing with women. Okay, I've always said this, and I can prove this scientifically beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay, women say, Doc, what's the number one thing that kills men when it comes hormonally, or even health-wise? Sugar. Women, mental stress, by far. Okay, and so the greater demand now, not just mental stress, that's the number one for women, but stressors in general. Do you see what I'm saying? Because once again, if a woman eats bad, it's a stressor. So this whole bull crap of moderation, there is no such thing as moderation to the human body.
Right.
Body either knows is it's inflammatory or is it normal.
Right.
So I define moderation, and it actually is kind of cool. It made a magazine. Moderation to me is nothing more than your emotional justification wanting to eat something wrong. That's all it is. Okay.
Yeah.
It's emotion.
Right.
You're saying, but physiologically your body knows is it inflammatory? Then there you go. Inflammation drains progesterone, which will now throw off a woman's cycle. So this whole idea when doctors say nutrition has nothing to do with it, they're actually hurting people when they make statements like that. Do you see them?
Right.
And see, people don't realize our body still runs. I know all these docs, which is kind of hilarious. They're so big into keto and paleo and all the stuff like that, which is really kind of not physiological normal. Okay.
Right.
And this idea that women's bodies don't need sugar, that they can, here's what happens. If you see the stressed out woman mentally, so let's say a woman's really stressed out and she's crying and she's having a bad day, her first thing that comes out of her mouth is, I just crave an avocado. No, she doesn't. She craves sugar. Your body runs on sugar.
Right.
This whole
It's
keto BS is going to, remember, there's always a fad that people are going to jump on that way. It's just that what they do, they run towards processed sugar, which now messes up their estrogen levels, just like it does to a guy. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really funny because it's really hilarious because you never hear a guy talk about craving chocolate under stress. Well, chocolate has the highest serotonin in all foods that way. See, it's kind of funny. A woman's body is very intuitive that way. Women have to get back to that and stuff. So I try to teach women that and stuff. It's like, listen, If you know you're starting to crave something that way, your body's under a little stress, physically, mentally, or traumatically that way and stuff, and we got to actually adjust to that way because stressors will throw off the hormone levels.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then that really at the end of the day is probably causing the root of almost all hormonal
Every
issues.
disease.
Right.
Oh, every disease, period.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so when we talk about women and weight loss, because this is a really common stressor, and in your book, it's one of your top 3 stressors that you find from women, right? I don't know a woman that doesn't stress about their weight.
Exactly.
And it is more difficult for women to lose weight, but what are your tips for someone who is seeking weight loss?
Well, it's really simple. Okay, if you ever think about this, remember, it's so hormonally controlled in a woman. That's why if you ever notice in the past, women have taken HCG shots and all stuff like that, and all those, Kevin Trudeau tried to do the whole thing, and it works though, because what they do is they really change their body hormonally, try to get into an anabolic state. Okay, whenever you look at a woman's body, especially in that 3rd week, in what I call that woman zone, hormones have to get very high, have to get extremely high to actually for them to maintain a pregnancy if they would get pregnant. It's the only reason why it jumps up high. But here's what happens. When a woman runs out hormonally deficient in any single way, adrenal-wise, thyroid-wise, estrogen-wise, also that, the body actually says, listen, I have a wonderful tissue that makes hormone at a high level. It's called fat tissue. Okay? So therefore, once again, hormone sufficiency is so key to women's weight loss. That's why if a woman gets on and starts to exercise and drains her hormones, she can actually gain weight. That's why if a woman gets so mentally stressed out. See, so if you look at it this way, weight loss for women is actually very easy if they find the stressors. Okay. Now people say, well, that's why if you ever look at women that go through menopause, their ovaries start to shut down a little bit and start to produce less, so their adrenals depend more for production. Well, if they're so stressed out, that's why women in menopause will gain weight, because their adrenals can't keep up and your body produces adipose tissue. Okay. So cortisol levels are so key for women's weight loss. That's why it's so important for them to get measured. That's the first step in weight loss for women when they get measured that way. Well, you say, Doc, cortisol is thrown off by mental stress and also inflammation. Yes, it is. Then once again, if your cortisol levels are so dramatically timed, it's a doctor's job to find out what's stressing out your body. Now, for example, to give you an example, my wife was allergic to lettuce. Okay? Right. My wife was allergic to lettuce. And I said, Doc, but wait, it's good organic food. Well, my history, as you know, I have an anaphylactic reaction to eggs. And my background is nutrition. I have a master's degree in nutrition. People say, well, Doc, you're a big organic person. What if you eat an organic egg? Well, then great, I'll just be organically dead.
Right.
Because I'll die from an allergic reaction.
Right.
That's why it's so important.
It's such a huge misconception, too. Yeah, because there's a lot of women who are sensitive to very, quote unquote, healthy foods that aren't healthy for them at all. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, but that's where it always comes back to the Wellness Way model, okay? Because the thing is this, is you have to get tested. Ladies, you can try any fad diet. You could even, try any food plan. Once again, if I had a food plan that had an egg on there, I would die, okay? Even if it was the greatest paleo recipe on the planet with no gluten, dairy, or soy, with no inflammatory things. Once again, inflammatory things are measured by their person's own immune system that way. But a lot of people never get tested, so they're reacting to. I can show you a woman who lost weight because she stopped eating avocados.
Right.
Once again, because why? She was allergic to it. See, so that's where be very clinically objective with your body that way. Everybody's very different, so let's get it tested properly and see where it's at.
Right. Okay. So when we talk about stress being the number one culprit in disease and weight loss issues in women. So can you just list some of the stressors that someone could start to look at in their life? Because obviously we think about like emotional stressors and work stressors and other things. And you just talked about food stressors, but what are some other ones that you could add to that list?
Well, if you're a woman, first check your relationship, and I'm not joking. Men are by far the number one stressor of women, bar none. Okay? Now, anything that throws the body off from its normal physiology. Once again, you said it before. EMF, okay? Electromagnetic frequency, guys. Be careful. All these Apple Watches and all these Bluetooth, you got to be careful with that stuff. I have a non-EMF headset on right now. Okay? There's no EMF going up to my head, okay? Your air quality, everything. I have the best filtration system in the house. Your lighting, all these things. See, it's really sad is we're set up to fail, Alexa. Right. We're set up to fail. We live in an environment that's so toxic, burden to us. And people say, Doc, why are you so big into foods and things like that? Because it's at least something we can control.
Right.
Okay? Now, once again, let's even go here. A job of a chiropractor is to remove a traumatic stress. You'll say, well, I don't want to get adjusted. Well, then you're going to have a stressor you're always going to have to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 stressors out there. There's physical trauma to the body, okay? There's actually toxic. There's also mental stress or thoughts. So we call it 3 T's. So we're always evaluating 3 T's that are stressing on a person's body that way. And that's like even like your simple water, People still take showers in city water, which is chlorine is a known poison and stuff. So there's so many factors that set these things up. Look at anything that goes on your mouth and goes on your body, from lotions or anything that way. Is it a nutrient or is it a toxin?
Right.
And so it has to be looked at. People say, well, moderation. Your body doesn't know moderation. It even knows it's sufficient or toxic.
Right.
That's all it knows.
Right. Yeah. Moderation, like you said, is a perceived emotion. I love the quote that you had said.
It's an emotional justification for wanting to eat something wrong. See,
Right.
I tell people, if you want to do something wrong, say I'm doing it wrong. Don't emotionally justify what you're doing.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
No. Yeah. Makes total sense. Just put it where it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. No, this is so fantastic. So a woman looking to fix her hormones, what are the first 3 things you tell them to do?
Number 1, get tested.
Okay. And explain what test.
No idea.
Tell me how someone could go and get tested, because everyone's going to email me and ask what tests, because
I will, and you don't even need a doctor to do it. And I'm going to give you the best hormone testing on the planet, because I'm still the best hormone guy in the world. Okay, I'm not joking about that. Okay, number 1, let me say this very clearly so your audience get this. If you just do one test for hormones, it's incomplete. Because people say, no, doc, my OB and my gynecologist, all them measured hormones. No, they didn't. They measured a couple hormones. Okay? My analogy is like this. Have you ever looked at a TV and watched a preview for a movie and go, hey, honey, this was a good movie. Let's go to it. And you went there and the movie sucked? Okay? Because you're trying to make a judgment on a portion of the movie and not understanding the whole thing. That's what hormones testing is in medical and even natural realms today. Okay? No joke. My history is my wife was told she could never have kids. She was so sick when I met her, and she was 22. They almost ripped her uterus out at 19 years old. It's in the book, okay? But here's what happens. And I started looking at stuff, and they did barely anything with her, and they call it complete care. So here's a statement I want you to do. Number 1, you need to do urine and blood together. Otherwise, everything you do from there is incomplete testing. So people say, Doc, I had some blood hormones done. Great, you had some done. Doc, I did some urine hormones. Great, you had some of them done. They need to be done together. Now, you don't even need a doc, and I will actually send you in writing so you can share to all of your audience in a PDF form of the blood markers you need to do. You can go to any lab, you can go to any doctor, and you can get them done. Second of all, I love the Dutch test. You can go on their website. Just type in Dutch, capital DUTCH hormone testing. It's a urine test. You don't need a doctor to go through it. If you call our office, you do get a discount, because I think they charge $400 online, and I think it's only $250. We get a discount being a doc. Right. And I actually sell it to people for what we pay, because I tell people, just get tested. That's the key.
Right.
So you can go online, you go on their website, and actually go Dutch test, buy the complete hormone test that way. I will actually give you all the blood markers right there, and that right there will give you every marker you need to know hormonally, period. Okay? If you just do one or the other, it's still incomplete. Okay? So we'll provide that for your listening audience.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect.
What they can do.
Yeah.
All right?
I think that brings peace to a lot of people. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Now that's step number 1. Okay? Now, on the testing, let's go a little deeper. On that testing, depending on what marker comes out, it will determine what we do. Maybe you'll take something herbally. Maybe you have to change your lifestyle. Maybe we have to test foods. Because if your cortisone, your anti-inflammatory hormone, comes in significantly, we'll see if you have a structural or actually inflammatory damage. Once again, foods are usually very common, so then we may recommend a food test that way. We may recommend getting adjusted, all those things. The test will actually, because once again, now if your cortisol levels, your mental stress levels are so bad, then we have to recommend other things, okay? I always tell people this. You want women to actually see something. Now remember, here's what happened. This is not a joke, okay? I personally believe why marijuana is so used today, which people know this. I'm a huge fan of marijuana oil. I'm against everything smoking, because I think smoking is a toxin.
Like
so
the CBD oil.
Yes. Yeah. The true no, I love hemp version too, but marijuana one actually has higher concentration THC, which is very good hormonally that way. Please, listening audience, Dr. Flynn is so against smoking. I hate it everywhere. I don't care. No one can justify, yes, people will show medical benefits. I still hate it. Let me make that very clear. I'm against it. But I'm a huge component, once again, of marijuana oil or even the hemp oil that way, because once again, it's a calming factor. That's why I believe marijuana is so abused today, because mental stress is so high in women.
Right.
Okay. Recently, Dr. Mitch, one of my docs at my Green Bay office here, because I don't see any new patients. I haven't seen any new patients for a long, long time. I still see patients on Monday for a couple hours, but otherwise I don't see any patients. But here's what happens is when you look at what happens with women, that's why women, even you'd be surprised how many women actually use marijuana. Why? Because they're so mentally stressed out.
Right.
Okay. So we can tell that from their testing. So ladies, if you just go and get some CBD oil, you'll see hormonal change in your health right away. You will, because your body will be under less stress.
Okay, when we look at that, is that having, obviously it's having a hormonal impact, but it's, I mean, I think people fear it because they think of marijuana as, I mean, a drug, but CBD oil.
That's because
Right.
Yeah.
But we're taking drugs all the time anyways. One, not to be a proponent of marijuana, but I do agree with you that CBD oil does have benefits, and I don't think it's something to be scared of. No,
they actually, if you're scared of it, you don't understand the human body. That's W. You don't understand basic physiology of the body that way. It's stuff, and so that's why I tell people. That's why I'm so outspoken about everything. Because once again, look what I do for a living.
Right.
And I get hate mail every single day. I've been on the biggest medical stages. I actually will be on other big major networks at the end of this year. The book, it's really funny. I kind of find it funny. The book actually is what I've been doing for 20 years, but you put in book form, everybody thinks you're smarter and they start calling you. You understand? Because you probably never even really heard about me much until the book came out. I've been doing this clinically for 20 years. Okay? I have offices all over the country and stuff. People are like, Doc, where have you been? I'm like, I've been doing the same thing for 20 years. I just became, with social media and book, became more public. But really, nothing's changed for me clinically in 20 years.
Right.
I just get the best clinical results in our clinics that way. So this idea that CBD oil is scary is nothing more than just actually a fallacy, because it could actually get people off of opiates and get people off a lot of drugs and stuff that are actually
because
horrible.
they're craving just a lightness to their heavy load that they're carrying. Okay.
Exactly. That's why.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have to be careful though about how pure the CBD oil is?
Always do this. Once again, always go with very credible sources. Once again, do your own investigation. See, it's like this is kind of cool. It's not a joke. Even now, remember, my strong medicinal herbs cannot be bought unless you're a patient, but I control them from seed to feed. You understand?
Right.
So look at your manufacturing. Do your research. The greatest invention to healthcare was the internet. Let me say it again. The greatest invention to healthcare was the internet, because you didn't have to believe anybody anymore. You can do such massive, great research. And guys, I'm proud about this. Look me up. Look at my record. Look at my clinics. Look at everything. One thing I love about the internet, it exposes everybody, and there's no more hiding. So that's what I tell people. It's like, do your research, do your things. Please research me, research everything I say. I'm very proud of it. I'm very strong on my stances. But for what purpose? I tell people, I'm so obsessed with female health care because I believe women are barbarically treated in healthcare today.
Right. It's awful.
And so that's why I will never stop, because like I said, it's only getting worse. They're trying to create more medical procedures, more things that are detrimental to female health and stuff like that. And if we don't get out there and speak, that's why when you call the podcast, I'm like, absolutely, I will speak to 1 or 1 million women as long as I can get a decent message out.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I love about this, is that women haven't been treated correctly, and it's caused a lot of problems, but there is hope, and there is means like your book and your clinics to do that. Okay, I want to get into a couple more topics, and I know that we're going kind of long, so bear with me here. I want to get back to birth control, because again, this is probably the biggest concern of women, is one, feeling forced like this is the only option, and 2, being told, not just to prevent pregnancy, but 2, being told this is the only way to balance your hormones, when in fact, it's not doing any of that, I mean, of course, yes, preventing pregnancy, but balancing your hormones, it is not. Can you just quickly, I know this is not a quick subject, but kind of give some light into birth control and what women can do instead? Yeah.
Well, it's a very quick answer and a very simple answer. Birth control in classification is listed as an endocrine disruptor. So it doesn't balance hormones. It never has. It never will. You see,
right,
it's listed. medically as an endocrine disruptor. Let me say it again, an endocrine disruptor. Okay. So what is needed, and what, for example, once again, I know it's repetitive this way, is when young women, especially, or even older women, suffer dramatically hormonally, there's no investigation of why they're off. That's why female hormone health is only going to get worse. They compensate for birth control because why? It palliates some symptom. That's why even some of your listeners right now will say, Doc, if I tried to go on birth control, it'd be hell. Yeah, because you're just as sick as you were when you first started it.
Right.
You saying? Just because they're manipulating your hormones, heck, you want to feel good, take Vicodin all day long. You'll never feel anything. You saying? It's you can't endocrine disrupt and create normalcy that way. Actually, it's even worse for female health, because when you're endocrine disrupting, taking some of the symptomatology down, it soothes women mentally, and they do no investigation to really see what's going on until later in life when they get off and want to get pregnant or want to do things like this, and they can't. Do you see? So birth control is meant for hormone manipulation, not hormone balance. So that's why I don't understand why people say, well, no, my hormones are balanced. What do you mean your hormones are balanced? They manipulated you. They didn't balance you out. Because that's why if you do a hormone test, even when you do a hormone test, that's why it's still so bad. Okay?
Right.
Sound good?
Yeah, no, that's great. So what do you recommend for family planning? Just tracking the cycle?
Well, put it this way. Now, one thing that you'll know about me, if you've ever, and I know you've seen my videos, I'm vulnerable. You can ask me anything, but get ready for my answer.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
no, yeah. This is, I love upfront honesty, Paul, so.
As a man, now your women are going to love this, your men are going to hate this. I believe it's a man's duty and a job to understand their wife's cycle and their woman's body, because you can actually not only be a very, good thing for them, but you can be a very bad thing for them too. And I'm not going to be the cause of my wife's illness, okay? Which is because she's healthy to me, but I wouldn't want to be a stressor to my wife, okay? And if men knew that they could be a big contributor to women's health, they wouldn't treat them. They would never speak down to a woman. They'd never speak to a woman the way men do today. It pisses me off. Sorry. I said this. Okay, but get my point. So the idea is this. I know my wife's cycle is the back of my hand. I will tell her when she's going to get her cycle. You know why? Because I know it like crazy. You understand, it's a very narrow window for a woman to get pregnant.
Right.
Okay?
I mean, it's pretty incredible that as many pregnancies happen as they do.
I know. That's why ladies that go, I don't know how it's happened. I look at them and say, well, they have figured out where it comes from now.
Right.
And stuff like that, and everybody laughs. But here's my point. So, once again, let me give you a little analogy. Guys, when you know the fertility time is, don't deposit in the bank. And here's what happens. This is not a joke. Sperm is a foreign tissue to a woman's body. Right. A guy should not be depositing in a woman unless they're planning to have a child.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I think we should go more into this, because I've spoken truth into this a lot as well, and I fully believe this. But it is not natural. Okay, now, however, I feel like there is a little bit of controversy, because I have heard that the nutrient value for a woman of what is in the semen and the sperm is beneficial, but at the same time, it can cause a huge inflammatory response, in my opinion.
Okay, so let me give you this, and I'll answer that question, not controversially. I'll answer it scientifically, okay?
Yeah.
So let's go here. See, I've actually had people come right from Mayo Clinic with semen hypersensitivity, okay? Which, for example, and I'll give you this. Now, remember, do you want me to go in detail? Because I'm going to give you real clinical examples. Okay?
I'm totally fine, yeah.
So, okay, here we go. And you can erase it if you don't want it on there, but I'm going to give you real clinical examples that I've dealt with, okay? So I can, and actually, it's not a joke. This is not a stripper name. This is her real name. Her name was Fawn, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of people go, is this a made-up stripper name? No, it's a real name, Fawn, okay? And she dealt with seminal hypersensitivity. And once again, we had the woman's food allergies tested, and she was allergic to certain things. We had her husband stop eating them, and she stopped reacting to his sperm, okay, because we're made up of those little proteins. Now, on the flip side, you talked about that there's a benefit to it. The only benefit to the uterus is softening the cervix, okay? That's why sex during the last month of pregnancy is almost essential daily for a woman, because it makes pregnancy go really fast, all the prostaglandins. Now, the only other benefit that a woman will get nutrient-wise is orally. Do you see what I'm saying? But not vaginally. So the idea is you can cause more irritation vaginally than when they talk about the science of actually it having nutrients. They're talking about taking it orally, not taking it vaginally. So that's the major difference. That's the controversy they talk about. It's like, no, because when it goes through orally, just like any other food, it gets broken down properly.
Right.
The uterus, the vaginal lining in the uterus was never meant to break down sperm.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay.
See the science, see the difference. So,
okay.
yeah.
On the same topic while we're here and going a little bit deeper than other things, but men ejaculation. I've also heard that men ejaculating too often is also harmful for them.
Well, it's why masturbation and porn has been detrimental to men's health.
Mm-hmm.
It's guys, stop that bull crap. You know what I'm saying? For one thing, you should be looking to fantasize about another woman. But for another thing, for example, is this. One of the greatest things actually for guys is not having sex all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You see? Because once again, sperm takes about a day or two to actually mature, which actually gives it a little, because if you're, this happens all the time. You'll see this a lot in teenagers with porn, that they're ejaculating so much because of porn that they don't even give their time testosterone to anabolically build up and they drain it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's
it can cause men to have a lack of drive and focus and other things if they're doing it too often.
Yeah, it is. It's actually with all these teenagers. That's why sometimes these young boys have a really hard time or don't even chase women because once again they've actually drained their testosterone levels, so they have no sex drive to even go after women. Mm-hmm. And a lot of like, oh, they're not interested in women. And I'm like, talk to your kid about masturbation because he's probably doing a lot more than you think he is.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right.
You know,
So what is like the appropriate amount that a man can ejaculate? The only reason I ask this, I've heard there's equations based on age and number of days in between, and I don't know.
Well, put it this way. No, there not really an equation, but I will tell you this. If you keep your testosterone levels high, 3-4 times a week is no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? If testosterone levels go low, do you understand? See, so what happens is, so you add a bunch of bad stuff. You know, kids eating, young men eating sugar like crazy, doing all stuff like that. They're going to drop their testosterone levels pretty easily that way.
They're not going to be able to.
So, because you ask, no joke, you ask a guy like me that's got over 800 and eats perfect, guess what happens? I could probably have sex every day and it'd be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But what happens, you start getting low testosterone, you got to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm. So I think that's all really great information because it's not what you hear a lot of people talking about, but it really does make a huge impact, even on the stressors. Like you said, in women, having an insensitivity towards that can be another stressor in their life. Okay, so moving on, one more thing that I want to hit on, and that's menopause.
Yep.
So, I mean, menopause is this kind of feared thing for women. Can you just go into menopause a little bit and how women can handle this if they are there or if they're in premenopause or even postmenopause? Like, what can a woman do in those phases?
Yes. Menopause is the easiest stage of life to keep a woman healthy.
Why do you say
ever
that?
preaches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's go back to the simplicity of a guy and why it's so much easier for a guy. Because their hormones are what? Basically the same all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What happens in menopause for women? The cycle does what now?
Oh, it ceases.
It's gone.
Yeah.
So women's hormones are straight across.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's easy to measure a woman's hormones because you measure them very similar to guy levels. Okay. Not as far as ranges, but what happens is you can measure a woman at any time during the month because they're always the same that way. Okay. So it's so easy to keep a woman in menopause healthy because as long as you start to address those issues and then keep them across, it's simple. See, the reason why menopause is actually so detrimental to women is because by the time they get there, they're so hormonally devastated and they don't understand their human body and don't understand the shift and what organs now compensate for their hormonal change, that when they move into it, the only thing that they have for women is horse hormone, HRT, which causes cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So it's so much easier to keep women healthy in menopause. It's how the term cougar came about. Because a woman, now get this, if a woman, when she's cyclic, has a sex drive every day, she's going to have a cancer because she probably has PCOS because that's the only women that have sex drive all through the month. A woman in menopause can have a sex drive every day like a guy because their hormones are straight across. There's no fluctuation. There's no repair of the uterus that way. So that's actually how the whole term cougar came about, was because now women are coming to me at droves saying, my husband can't perform and I'm actually now ready. Because he's taking statin drugs and bad diet and he's got a big belly and stuff like that. I tell women, if your husband has a belly, be careful because he's going to lose sex drive eventually. Okay? So all these menopausal women are going, honey, you got to get rid of this. Now I'm ready to go and you're not. Okay? So what does a woman do? Once again, number one, get repetitively tested. Okay? Number two, start finding those stressors in the body. And if you need to compensate with some, medicinal things and herbs and different things like that. It's not hard to maintain those levels. It's actually really easy to maintain those levels. And then your lifestyle dictates how long it stays that way. It all comes down to lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Any stressor you put on your body will dictate and change your hormones. Mm. So menopause can be a very, very vibrant time for a woman. And there's no such thing. There's no such thing as pre and post menopause. You're cyclic and you're menopausal. There's no such thing as perimenopause. That's a made-up term for women getting sick before menopause. Mm. They've created all this stuff, all these things to lie to women so they don't understand their own body, so they got drugs and surgery for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So is it true then that, when women enter menopause that they can expect to gain weight and
no,
a lower sex drive? But what you're saying is people really should be able to, it's the opposite.
It's totally opposite. That is a total lie. Mm-hmm. It's just so common that happens, they accept it as normal. Let me ask you a simple question, and I've coined this frame. Don't confuse common with normal. Is PMS normal? No. It's called premenstrual what?
Right.
Syndrome. But see, it's so common, people accept it as normal. Mm-hmm. Because why? We have a medical system, we have a healthcare system that doesn't know how to take care of ladies. And so it's so common. Do you understand that when young ladies come to me with PMS, it scares the hell out of me, because later in life they're going to be dealing with so many more issues if it's not taken care of. Mm-hmm. So just to throw in, what's our plan for these young ladies? Birth control, great. Endocrine disruptors that cause infertility and cancer, great. Wonderful medical system. And I'm the crazy doctor.
Right.
See how stupid it is? How backwards it is?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Keep me going on this.
Yeah. No, this has really been fantastic. I feel like you've given us a ton of information to get started and to open our eyes that really our hormones aren't the evil in our life. They're not the villain that's out to get us, but we can do a lot of things and so easily to change our health. And that really does matter. And I really do want to encourage everyone to grab your book, which I'm going to link up all of your information in the show notes so people can grab that and check that out, as well as learn more about you and your clinics to get the help that they need. But before we go,
Alexa, here's what we'll do though. I'm going to send you 6 free books that you can hand out and give out to anybody you want in your audience.
Oh, that's awesome.
You just take them, give them to people, because once again, let me say this to your audience. Look at my website, stuff like that. I have clinics all over the country. The book was never written for sales. The book was written to get some people information in there and stuff like that. So I'm going to give you 6 free books, give them away, and so that to your audience, create some prize for it that way. I give a lot of free information out on YouTube and Facebook that way. I can promise you this, and I guarantee you've seen this before. I don't sell anything on my videos or anything like that. I don't do anything. My whole message is, ladies, get tested. Mm-hmm. I don't try to sell you guys anything. I just want you guys to get free information that you can make your life better. And what happens is that's why we do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So awesome. Yeah. Such a great mission. Okay. Before we go, I have a few quick fire questions for you. Just throw out, it's like some of the things you're loving right now, and then you can let us know where they can learn more about you. So first up, What are you reading right now, or what is your favorite health book? Besides your own, because yours is great.
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. My favorite health book, it sounds funny, is Just Guyton, which is a physiology book, just to understand actually how the physiology and biochemistry works. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds funny because most people that read books are really trying to write books are trying to sell some products and stuff like that, or actually do some stuff. So I really don't follow anybody that way. I know it sounds funny because my ideas are different than everybody else's and stuff. So I just constantly study biochemistry and physiology. Guess what? Go on the internet and type in the female cycle. Understand how the body works. Then you'll know what people are trying to do when they actually produce an article and stuff like that. So mine's just understand biochemistry and physiology. That's what I read all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's great. Knowledge is power. Okay. Yep. What is your favorite hormone healing food?
That's easy. Maca.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
I think maca is just like cholesterol. We need cholesterol-building hormones. Maca is that precursor that anybody can go to a health food store. Please don't buy expensive supplements. Go to a health food store. Go online, buy an organic maca, a good source that way. Put in your smoothies, put in your shakes. It's a building block. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. And it's so easy. I mean, it's so easy.
Simple, cheap, easy.
Right. Yeah. What's one health product that you love?
CBD.
Oh, yeah. What, do you mind sharing the brand that you use?
I actually produce our own from, I manufacture. If you go on our website, it's right on there. You can buy it.
Can you purchase stuff that I thought you said that you couldn't, you had to be
you can't purchase the medicinal herbs and stuff that we use clinically because they're potency that way and stuff, but we do sell some basic products on the website that you can basically anywhere. I just know my sources. Mine's all organic, gluten-free. I do everything. I have massive, science on mine that way. So I said there's certain products you can get. It's just that I don't sell anything medicinally and clinically on my website because I can't. It's got to be done through a doc. So, but their CBD is actually something. My little girls take CBD oil every day. Yep.
Nice. Okay. What's the best piece of advice you could leave us with?
Best piece of advice I could leave you with. Actually, what I would tell you this. Now, here's one thing, and I speak to women mainly, so I want to say this. Because I believe this applies to every area of life, once again, just like the last question that way, is ladies, please do me a favor. If you can get the one concept that mental stress will destroy your health and destroy your life more than anything, please take that to heart. I have a wife and 4 beautiful daughters. It's my job as a man to create the environment that keeps the stress down in my household. And yes, I know a lot of people feminists don't like to hear that. It's like, no. I understand the female body. I can scientifically prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt that way. So please grasp that. Guys, please do this. You being sick only makes your spouse more stressed out, okay, because she thinks about you all the time. Watch your sugar intake. I'm sorry, but those guys, don't be stuffing your face full of sugar because you're gonna get sick. You're gonna stress out your wife. You're gonna make her sick, and it's just like it's a thing down. So please, ladies, that's the biggest word of advice I can ever give you is watch the mental stress. Because if you just even know that it contributes to so many things in your life, you would actually change your life around to actually make it less stressful, which I believe we have to do.
Yeah. So good. Thank you so much for being here again, Dr. Patrick. Can you tell us where we can learn more about you?
Yes. What I would do is I'm always on Facebook because I believe I have a very unique and great message to share with people. And so once again, I put a ton of free information out there. Just go to Dr. Patrick Flynn, the Hormone Whisperer. Okay. I didn't make up that name. Actually, women gave me that name like 10 years ago and I adapted it. I thought it was pretty cool. Also YouTube, just Dr. Patrick Flynn. Also, but here's what happens. If you want to see, we put so many articles out, so many videos out. If you can go to our website, thewellnesswayclinics.com. And once again, I will promise you this, I say this repeatedly, but I want people to know this. When you go to see our stuff, it's just information. We don't try to do sales on anybody that way. There's no special offer at the end. There's no things like this. It's always just, hey, if you want to know something about foods, you want to know something about testing, you want to know something this, here's the information and where to go to that way. And once again, I will always keep it this way because I just want people to get free, good information so they can make their own choices with no nudge to buy stuff and things like that. So, and then that's always my goal and my best place to see us.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much for being here. I'll make sure and link all of that up in the show notes. And like I said, I really, really appreciate it.
You betcha. Thank you so much for giving me a chance to speak to your audience.
Yeah. Okay, that show was a little bit longer, but it was totally worth it. I hope that you found that show just as valuable as I did. And as he mentioned, he gave so many resources out, which you can find all of that information in the show notes at simplerootswellness.com/110. That's 110. He's also giving away free 6 books. So if you want to grab a book, make sure you head on over to the show notes to enter the giveaway to grab one. I also have some other great information about understanding the difference between men and women and one tip that each of us can do to live healthier lives. Remember, I think the most critical point is that women's number one influencer of their health is stress and men's is sugar. So if we start taking those things seriously, maybe we see great change. Now, I don't know about you, but stress affects my life in so many areas. And this is a daily battle and a daily grind of its own. And so if you're dealing with a lot of stress, stay tuned because I'm going to have more podcasts coming up on how we can de-stress our body and not just get rid of it, but how can we learn to deal with it so it's no longer stressful for us. So stay tuned as we dig into that. But in the meantime, don't forget to head on over to the show notes, sign up for the Simple Cleanse because in this course, we will learn all the ways to help de-stress your body and just take some of the stress off that women create through exercise and through wrong food choices and sleep patterns and relationships and mindsets and so much more. The Simple Cleanse really is for everyone. And on top of that, one of my favorite features is that your entire family can do it with you, meaning you no longer have to cook 2 meals every single night. One meal suits you all. Yes, it's really that amazing. So again, find all this information over at simplerootswellness.com. I hope you join me. Come back on Friday because I have a new recipe that I'm posting that you're going to love, especially at the start of the school year. Okay, that's it for now. I will see you back here on Wednesday. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Alexa Sherm and to leave a rating and review over at iTunes. Find me at Simple Roots Radio. Okay, have a great week. I'll see you next week.